Hi everyone, my name is Chloe Baptiste and welcome to another session of our Becoming series where we come together to learn about careers in energy efficiency. We are very grateful to the two sponsors who make this series possible, Natural Resources Canada and Electricity Human Resources Canada. Both sponsors are key in growing the Canadian energy efficiency workforce, and we could not do this without them. The Becoming series is where we meet leaders in the sector and hear their story of how they got started, what skills are important for their role, and advice we have for people looking to follow in their footsteps. I also want to start this event with a land acknowledgement. I live and work in Montreal, Quebec. Montreal is located on unceded Indigenous land. The Kanien'kehá:ka Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters of Tiohtià:ke, otherwise called Montreal. I invite you to learn about the land you are on and deepen your understanding of the history of the nations whose land you live on. So this month's speaker is Sabrina. Sabrina has worked on 6 different energy efficiency programs in Ontario and Nova Scotia. These programs have provided help to small businesses and low-income homeowners by tackling energy poverty. By being on the customer-facing side and operations side of this program in 2 different provinces, she has unique perspective on energy efficiency in Canada. With that being said, I invite Sabrina to share about her role.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Sabrina Marsh, and as Chloe said, I'm here with the Becoming series to talk about my role as an efficiency specialist and my path on the way there. So I'll be talking a little bit about who I am and my background before my professional career. I'll talk about work experiences, volunteer experiences, and other key events. I'll talking about my position, but also my experience in working in a certain sector of energy efficiency, which is the program funded side, and working on, like Chloe mentioned, programs funded to people in Ontario and people in Nova Scotia. And I'll follow that up with some skills or qualities that I find are helpful for an efficiency specialist or for someone who wants to work on program funded energy efficiency work. As a background, I'm from Sault Ste. Marie in Northern Ontario. I grew up right on Lake Superior and grew up pretty inherently valuing and respecting our local environment. I didn't really realize that I was interested in a career in climate action until right at the very last second. It was my mom who saw that in me and could see my concern about climate change and my passion for climate action, and she opened my doors to other environmental related careers and programs at university. I attended the University of Waterloo and graduated from the School of Environment, Resources, and Sustainability with a diploma in environmental assessment. I was very lucky to have chosen a program that fit exactly what I was interested in. I was able to take classes on environmental science to environmental economics, climate changes, intersectionality with gender and race, water governance, and Indigenous environmental law. I was able to take political science classes and also write an undergraduate thesis on the applications of a carbon budget. So all of these things were very clear to me that I was interested in that sort of side of climate change and climate action, the societal impacts and also the societal solutions. But I still didn't really know exactly how I wanted to apply that in my professional career. During my time at university as well, I was a member of the Varsity track and field team, where I was able to meet a lot of my running goals on the track. And it was something that I didn't really realize was connected to my environmental passion. The way that those two intersected wasn't a bit clear until later, but I'll talk about that in a few slides. Once I graduated from the University of Waterloo, I decided to take a leap and not move home to the Soo, where I had been every other summer, to try to find a job related to my field in Southern Ontario. And I was very lucky to have landed a job in energy efficiency just a few months later. So Greensaver was my first experience surrounding energy efficiency and the communication about energy efficiency in action. In my university career, I don't remember learning a lot about energy efficiency in terms of DSM plans or demand side management or on and off peak or RFPs or anything like that. A lot of what I learned is through my colleagues, many of who are now friends and managers and other people with other experiences at organizations that are willing to provide their insight and help me learn about some of those sides of energy efficiency. So when I first started at Greensaver, I was working on the Business Refrigeration Incentive Program, which was provided free to small to medium-sized businesses, typically not chains, but local businesses, and we would update their refrigeration equipment. My position was to speak with the business owners and coordinate appointments for the contractor to go to their business and either replace a motor in their efficiency equipment, add strip curtains to walk-in freezers, night curtains to open display cases, that sort of thing in their businesses. So this is where I really got that communication piece of energy efficiency, because I was calling these businesses and speaking with them about what to expect through the program. But they had very different types of questions for me than I think what I was first expecting. They had questions about making sure there wasn't going to be some added cost later on. They wanted to know why it was free. They wanted to make sure things were going to work well for their business, and that aspect wasn't going to be affected by the work. So most of the questions that I was answering was to explain to them why they were getting this work for free and they didn't have to pay for that kind of program. And this was good practice to explain to them why that was in a context that they understood of the finances of it. The business was able to save money by upgrading these appliances. They were able to use less energy to provide the same cooling that the business expected. But at the same time, by this program being funded for free, that either delays the additional energy generation that is required, or it reduces the energy generation that needs to be built in the future in general, because we're able to get more out of our energy and put more value to it. So it was financially in everybody's favor to be able to complete that program. And I think that made everybody a little bit more comfortable to be able to go through with that kind of program in their business. The program was really expanding. We were in the GTA, but we were really expanding in Southeastern and Southwestern Ontario, bringing on more utilities and more business relationships. Our internal team was growing, and I was expected to be the team lead of that team. But in March of 2019, we got a short notice meeting where we watched the Minister of Energy of the newly elected provincial government announce live that our program and a number of other programs in Ontario were going to be cut effective immediately. So we were all pretty surprised working on that program, and at Greensaver, we were surprised by that decision. And I'm very thankful that Greensaver was able to absorb people who wanted to stay on and continue to do the work that Greensaver was doing. But it was a decision that I really wrestled with for a long time. Internally, I really wrestled with it because there was articles a few months previous to this where our program and these other programs were either reaching or surpassing their expected targets. The environmental commissioner had written a report that energy efficiency was the basis of emissions reduction in the province. And these programs do inherently generate long-term cost savings, yet they were cut to achieve other cost savings. We had a month to wind down the program, and during that time I was learning my new role at Greensaver, but I also decided to have a meeting with my local MP about the decision. This was a great eye-opening experience to learn more about how our work, all of our work, is within a political context. It wasn't something that I had actually experienced about all of those intersections of how these programs play out. So we were able to have a conversation about their processes and provide my professional insight as to how those programs were effective. But it was a great experience for me to learn about the importance of all of the intersections of how these programs play out, why they are important, how people benefited from them, and to know how that could have impacts in the future and those kind of relationships that the organizations may have with government decisions like that. So that was a great experience, of course, not professionally or volunteering, but it was a key moment for me. Around that same time, I began volunteering with Live Green Toronto. Most of my volunteering here was at booths, as you can see in the photo, where we would be able to speak with people in Toronto who had questions about anything climate related, really. We had a lot of information to provide on city programs for things like composting and cycling, bike lanes, and all those sorts of things. So it was a good experience to understand what people were asking you about, what kind of questions they had or what they were interested in, but trying to be able to answer that in a way that would be useful to them and information that would be valuable to them. And then shortly after the program change, I was able to continue working at Green Saver as a part of the Enbridge gas home winterproofing program. So this program it still is provided to low-income homeowners who are Enbridge gas customers. Enbridge and Union, of course, have the merge now, so it's anybody in Ontario is able to apply for that program and within their low-income bracket. And so this program would provide insulation measures, typically top-ups to the basement, attic, and exterior walls, draft proofing measures as well. And my first position as a program analyst really let me get an overarching image of how the program runs and how a customer goes through the program from application to initial assessment, to getting retrofit work done in their home, to the final assessment, and then to our invoicing and savings claiming stage. It allowed me to see it in terms of calculating our savings and working towards a target in terms of monthly projects instead of individual home by home projects. About a year after that, I decided to move into a project coordinator role on the retrofit team, where I was again speaking with customers who were applying and interested in receiving work through the program. I was a project coordinator on the retrofit team, so our team was responsible for scheduling those retrofits, calling the customers, and getting those appointments booked for a contractor to go and complete the work. So a lot of what we talked about was explaining the work that was going to be done, how they should be prepared, what to expect, what the contractor is going to do, giving them as much information as possible so that they were comfortable and prepared and had an understanding of what was going on in the home. This was, again, an interesting experience to hear their perspective and the questions that they had, because they weren't necessarily energy efficiency related, but they were, what kind of material is going to be in my home? How are they going to do it? Wanting to understand how it benefited their bills. Why would that bring their energy costs down? So it was this perspective of the quality of their home and their home heating bills. I was able to learn a lot more about what happens at the initial and final assessment, how a contractor completes the work, the R values, the types of materials, all of those details to be able to help a customer understand what was going on and basically just give them the confidence while a contractor was in their home that the end work was going to be beneficial for their home comfort and their home heating bills. And then about two years after that, I was able to be promoted to the team lead of the retrofit team. So this was a good combination of my communication skills in terms of making sure our team was represented in either what we were doing or what we could do to continue to make sure we were reaching our targets, and also have some practice in decision making and project management and working with any customer issues or contractor relationships to make sure that the delivery of the program was still smooth for the people who did really need it the most. So the team lead position was a good combination of a lot of those skills put together to make sure things were running smoothly for anybody who applied for the program. The next piece that I'll talk about is a bit of a side passion where I've combined those running and environmental interests together into running on green with the play on words. During COVID, this came to fruition. We were inside a lot at the beginning of COVID. That was why I had to stop volunteering for Live Green Toronto, because we couldn't go to events. All of these things with COVID, changing the lifestyles. And being indoors, I was dealing with eczema problems. And I was finding that I was buying internationally made small bottles of expensive cream that were barely even working, and sometimes were no longer going to be produced if they worked. And I just remember feeling that if I'm going to rely so heavily on this product and then they discontinue it, what do I do? I decided to take it into my own hands and make my own. So I make cream, which has pretty much resolved any eczema issues, which was really exciting. Deodorant, lip balm, and bath bombs are other things that I've explored, but they've really showed me the benefits of why a natural or simpler product has sometimes better effects. I use less of this product. It's cheaper. It's 4 ingredients, the cream that I use. It's from locally sourced stores. All of these things show me the connection to my health and the environment that I'm in, or vice versa. I took it from that health perspective, that I took that natural solution. But if you're also looking for a better product for the environment or less plastic, then it's likely that product could also be better for you at the same time. Those things are just inherent. And that was something that this really taught me. About a year ago, I started volunteering for Climate Action Waterloo region. I write for their monthly community action report newsletter. It goes out to anyone who subscribes. And the newsletter gives us an opportunity to be able to share climate action that is happening within the 3 cities and the 4 townships of the region. So it is a positive newsletter where we're able to show and demonstrate the climate action that's taking place in your community. But it's also an opportunity to be able to comment on how applicable federal or provincial government decisions have an impact on Climate Action Waterloo region's emissions reduction goals. So it is taking this complex ecosystem of governmental decisions and climate actions work on a local scale and how those things interact and how they affect each other. It's an opportunity for me to take that complexity and turn it into something digestible for readers so that they're able to have an understanding what's going on either for themselves or to share, to hopefully give them useful information, something they can use in their day-to-day or in their job or with their friends or something like that, that they're able to digest it and get the whole context and put that to use. So I've really enjoyed that practice and being able to work with the organization and share valuable information. And then again, about 1 year ago, I started my position as an efficiency specialist at Efficiency One. Efficiency One and Efficiency Nova Scotia are the only energy efficiency utility in the country. And between these organizations, we offer a lot of different programs. The program that I work on as an efficiency specialist is the home warming program. This program is also for low-income Nova Scotians. Anybody can apply, no matter your heating source. And again, as long as you qualify within the income bracket, you're able to be eligible for insulation upgrades, but also things like insulation removal and adding brand new insulation, a dehumidifier, gutters, carbon monoxide detector, all these other things that can hopefully allow us to have the insulation take in the home for a long time and make sure that it is effective in the long term for the homeowners. My role first started out as reviewing the proposed work for a customer. So they would receive their initial assessment, and then we would go ahead and approve the work that is to be completed in the customer's home. So considering this as a whole home measure, getting to look at the photos and have an understanding to make sure that the insulation makes sense, if there's any more we can do, if some areas are too risky, we don't want to cause any undue harm to the homeowner, but also making sure that we're keeping track of the savings, that the savings from the home are effective. And again, making sure that the customer is going to be comfortable with what is provided in their home. I've now been able to gain some operations experience as we are exploring a few different branches of the home warming program. We have been able to now add a heat pump as an offering to any homeowner that's qualified. They're able to have a heat pump considered as an effective measure for their home. anyone who was a home warming participant can apply. And same thing, we can make sure that as long as it's effective for your home, we're able to provide you with a heat pump. And in a few months' time, we'll be working at rolling out the off oil to heat pump affordability program, or the OPA program. So I've been able to turn some of these communication and technical aspects into operations of making sure all parties of the program are able to operate smoothly, that customers are aware of what they're able to receive, that are myself included, our internal team are aware of the changes, and making sure that we're having a full understanding of the work that a customer could receive, and making sure our delivery agents and our contractors are comfortable with all the work that they can propose, and that they're aware of any rule changes to our program. So that's certainly been a fun transition as well, being able to combine that into operations for the different types of home warming streams now. And then the final most recent addition is I'm volunteering with Efficiency Canada as a regional champion. So I share the Ontario seat, and I'm looking forward to being able to speak with other regional champions in other provinces to talk about energy efficiency. And for me, their energy efficiency programs in other provinces. We'll also be having a Energy Efficiency Day event in the coming months. So you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn if you're curious about that event in October in Ontario, but there will be events all across Canada. So the last piece that I will cover is some common skills that I think are important for this communication of the program work. An efficiency specialist counts within this, but a lot of my experience is that program side, and communication was a key part of that. It was clear to me that, like I said, in university, I don't think I learned a lot about energy efficiency, but we all learned about turning off your lights when you leave the room. Don't make the thermostat go up and down. Use the sun to heat up your home, or open a window to get a draft, or use the on and off peak hours. All of those things are energy efficiency. They're just different habits or different choices that you can make that have other benefits associated to them. So that's another key part that I think to acknowledge, is that there's different perspectives on energy efficiency. It could be a small business that's worried about their operational costs, or a homeowner who is worried about their energy bills, and you're able to run these programs to help hopefully pull them out of energy poverty. These are other societal situations that energy efficiency can have an impact on. And I was certainly coming at it from a perspective of, great, energy efficiency is going to reduce emissions. That's exactly what I want to do. But it has these other solutions that people benefit from, again, in other ways, in ways that are potentially more important to them, to make sure that they're comfortable in their home, that their business can operate well, that they can worry less about their home heating bills. They can live in their home longer because it's more comfortable. All of these perspectives are really prevalent in energy efficiency. And I just think it's important that we're working with people on their level there. The final thing that I think has helped me is the ability to learn some technical aspects of the work, being able to have kind of a base knowledge of retrofit materials, R values, the process of how it's done, the modeling system, or for the business program, how they replaced the motors and why strip curtains were important. All of these things were helpful in that communication, and they were helpful to explain and answer someone's question regarding what they were going to be receiving in the program. So those are the key 3 things that I take away from my program work. I'm really looking forward to continuing to do more of that. Thank you, Chloe, for the opportunity to be able to speak. And that's my time.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thanks for sharing your role with us, and especially those skills. So now I'll open the floor for some questions. How you deal as an efficiency specialist?
A lot of the work that I've had as an efficiency specialist, or as the project coordinator, talking about the work, or talking about the work that a business would get, a lot of it is reviewing the work that is proposed. It usually came to me from another team that was very trained in that technical verbiage. And it was up to myself and our team to digest that and make sure those upgrades made sense. So a key part of that is just making sure that work makes sense and that a customer it will last in their home. That's probably one of the most important things, is being able to consider that as a whole system, the upgrades that are being proposed for a home. And then the communication of that. So either that being with a delivery agent, confirming any questions you may have about the work, or answering a customer's questions so that they know what's happening in the work. It's a lot of going back and forth to make sure that a retrofit kind of construction-based project is going to be effective and won't have any undue harm on who's going to be receiving it.
Thank you. And we have a question from Eric. Thank you for your question. Which volunteer opportunity have you found the most successful or beneficial for the environment?
I'm excited to see how the regional champion experience goes. We have to be able to speak with other members of the energy efficiency world in Canada to be able to apply that to my current position. But I feel that my work with Climate Action Waterloo region has been really rewarding. We have been able to receive feedback on certain segments of the newsletter or feature certain parts of the region that may not always get featured. Like some of the smaller townships, we aim to focus on having a perspective throughout the region. So not just the 3 major cities, but the townships as well. And like I said, I've been able to get feedback and know that people are reading it and using it. And that's pretty exciting.
And I have another question. So what is one thing you would want someone outside of the energy efficiency sector to know about your work?
I think if someone is just curious about what I do in a day-to-day, a lot of us, from all of my colleagues, we always consider that if we're having a bad day at work or something's not going well, we know that the programs are important. We know that the programs matter. And I think that's something that we don't necessarily get to see every day, but we know that what we're doing contributes to that. I think it just shows why the programs are important and why it's important to continue to be able to provide that to small business owners or low-income homeowners who may not be able to make these decisions for themselves, who may not be able to fund these projects by themselves, but we all benefit from that. And then I think if you're interested in the field, that's something that you can consider too, is that there's a lot of different positions on program work and program teams, but it all is important to contribute to that final goal.
And I know you mentioned that you are in the community a lot. Would you say that there are some challenges to your job?
Yes, certainly a lot of the challenges can come from that communication piece if something is unclear or something is difficult to explain, because like I talked about, these are some concepts that aren't familiar as to why it would be free or why I have to do this and that for me to receive this work. Certainly that piece is difficult, but you do learn other ways to be able to share that information. I usually just consider that it's brand new information. Somebody does not know what I know, and I need to make sure that I explain it in a way that they're going to be able to use it. They shouldn't feel like the programs are, like I said, causing any undue harm or they're doing something they don't want to do. We should be able to provide them with the information that's important and useful for them. Certainly that, like I say, that communication piece has been some of the biggest challenges as well, but it's just important to try to take it as working together and making sure we're all working towards the same end goal.
Yes, and I like how you mentioned that some of the skills required is communication skills, so it's an important point. Maybe I'll ask you one final question. How do you foresee yourself evolving in this sector?
I'm really enjoying the operations side that I've been able to embrace at Efficiency One, being able to use my different experiences, both work and meeting with my local government and having that idea of how the context of how these programs operate. I am enjoying being able to contribute to how these programs run and operate, especially with the number of programs that are offered at Efficiency One. It's really, I'm learning so much just by being around other individuals that do programs that I had no idea we're around, low income or not, there's tons of offerings. And we're seeing that in other provinces and through the Greener Homes Grant and those sorts of things, that it is becoming more accessible of any walk to be able to apply. But I would like to continue to be on the operations side and continue to make sure that overseeing that the programs are running smoothly and everybody's getting what they want out of the program.
Yes, thank you so much. So I don't see any questions. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for taking the time to share your story with us. And for everyone who joined us today, your time and attention is greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with either of us. And Sabrina, is there a place where we can reach you on LinkedIn, email?
Yeah, LinkedIn for sure. And I think my LinkedIn has both my professional and personal email there too, but a LinkedIn DM is also fine.
Perfect, thank you. And one final thank you to our sponsors, Natural Resources Canada and Electricity Human Resources Canada. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sabrina.
Thank you.
Bye.